What's poppin', players? Welcome back to the Two Penny Game Club, your monthly video game book club in which me, your host, Tavin Bothel, alongside Say Hello to the People, Connor Elliott.
Hello, everyone. How are you all doing today?
And hello to the people, Phil Shoemaker.
Hello.
We all in the background, with a new camera angle, we all in the background play a video game for review. This is a game of some of the greatest games of all time, some of the not so greatest games of all time, and we sit down and review and rank it amongst the other games in the series. Once a month, we come to you, usually at the beginning of the month, and we have a brand new review for you. This month game is a little known game called Severed. And I believe, gentlemen, I'm the only one on this panel who has played this game before, correct?
You're the only one who had a Vita.
Indeed.
That's correct.
Indeed. Shout out A1s in the chat. Remember, you can watch us live over at twitch.tv/2pennygames every Monday at about 4 p.m. Central Time, where we record all of our podcasts, reviews, and conversations live, twitch.tv/2pennygames. But you can get this show over at youtube.com/@2pennygames or connected to that week's episode of the Two Penny Games cast on mainstream podcast services of your choice. That show goes up every Monday, or every Tuesday, excuse me. Gentlemen, let's get into it, man. Severed was originally released April 26, 2016, exclusively for the PlayStation Vita. We all played it, or me and Phil played it on Nintendo Switch, correct, Phil?
That is correct. I was on my Nintendo Switch.
Nintendo Switch. Connor, you played it on your iPhone.
On my phone, yes. It was cheaper and more convenient. So,
Well, it wouldn't have been cheaper if you got it on sale like we did.
oh really?
Yeah.
Well, how
it was
much
like
for sale?
like $50, right?
It was like, I think it was like $3.
Fuck. Okay, well.
Yeah. I said it in the chat. I said, hey, Severed for sale for like $3 right now. But it was it was that last day of the sale. It was that last day of the sale.
It was the last day.
You had to be on it. So
I didn't see it, so
I had happened to look it up on the Nintendo eShop, and I was like, oh shit. Oh, it ends tonight. Okay, well, I'm buying this right now.
That's like the seventh time that's happened, where we do a game for the podcast, for the game club, and then it goes on sale. It's happened a lot.
Video games go on sale, especially old ones. Ladies and gentlemen, the Severed has a Metacritic of 82, pretty favorable, but I could not find sales for Severed. Severed, of course, developed by Drinkbox Studios, known for their smash hit Guacamelee and Guacamelee 2, also developing games like Nobody Saves the World. And yeah, I could not find sales numbers for this game, but the PlayStation Vita sold 14 million units. I've pulled that off of a quick Google search. So I do know that the Vita audience was quite dedicated to the console, and developers would very often say, hey, when we put our game on Vita, it fucking sold. So I'm going to guesstimate we are in the realm of anywhere from 2 to 5 million copies sold for Severed. I feel like if it was 5, we would have bragged about it. So it's probably closer to 2. Somewhere around there. That's all conjecture. I checked multiple sites. I did some digging. Yeah. I just could not find any type of numbers in any type of way. Not even outdated first week sales or anything like that. So.
Well, when I was trying to look up small bits of information about the game, it kept referring me to Dead Space 2 Severed DLC.
Oh God!
So, this game, it was under the radar.
It's little known. Little known. I'll say when I was Googling, I would put Severed original release date, and it would pull up Severance, the TV show. So
the Apple TV show, yeah.
Yeah, I had to put Severed Vita game in the search bar to get anything Severed related. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's get right into it. This is my second time playing Severed, and I forgot how great this game is. This game really is awesome. From the moment you pick it up, you get it, you understand what you're doing. If you don't know what it is a dungeon crawler, basically mixed with Fruit Ninja. You're going to be exploring these dark, cavernous environments in which you're going to be fighting enemies, and the way you engage with those enemies is by swiping on the screen with your finger. Kind of a missed opportunity, in my opinion, to not put motion controls on the Nintendo Switch so that I could still play it on the TV. Had to play it in handheld mode, had to use the touchscreen. Not a big deal. That's how the game is initially played on the Vita. I have the Platinum for the Vita version of the game. So not the worst deal in the world. But yeah, I think Severed is an awesome, awesome game. I love the art style. I love its simplicity. I think it doubles down on level design and game design in a lot of really, really great ways. And shockingly, to me this time, I'm not going to say the story stood out to me, but sort of the metaphor that the story undertakes and how it deals with grief and how it deals with depression and what that can do to a person. That was very, very strong, or that read very strong to me this time around as opposed to the first time. I played it initially when I was like, when did this game come out? 2016?
Which would have made you about 17?
Yeah, I would have been about 17, 18 around that age. Yeah. 17. So yeah, it just didn't hit me at that point in my life, and now it does. Or at least now I have the emotional awareness to understand what it's going for now. And I think that rang very, very true for me this time. I think its art style is fantastic. I think its enemy design is varied and excellent. It's always fun to pick up and play. I think it's most fun in short bursts. If you pick it up, play for 30 minutes to an hour, put it down, pick it back up a little later, play for 30 minutes to an hour, that's where it's at its best. In long-term play sessions, I'm not going to say it got monotonous, but there is a bit of repetition to it, but it's not like it's getting boring or anything. It's just like you understand what you're doing. It's very limited in its gameplay mechanics, so it's like that. And I did remember feeling this way with the PlayStation Vita, but on the Switch especially, I found my hand cramping because obviously one hand is swiping on the screen, the other hand is holding the entirety of the Nintendo Switch, and just the weight of the Switch after a while, you just kind of get a little bit of a hand cramp because it's just forcing you to, like, the balance of it all. It wasn't meant to be played with one hand. So, that's probably maybe my biggest criticism is that it just cramped up my hand a little bit. But overall, Severed is a super simple, super short game that packs quite a punch, and I like it a lot. Is it one of the greatest games ever made? I don't know. No, I guess, but it's a really great game, and you should play it.
That's subjective. What is the greatest game?
Well, Connor, you tell me. How do you feel about
one of the greatest games?
It's not.
But it is a great game.
There you go.
Yeah, I'll piggyback off what he was just saying, which was, on my experience playing on the iPhone, I didn't have any hand cramps, thankfully. But what I did experience on that platform was the way that the UI is laid out. When you're using your finger to swipe at enemies and take off all their naughty bits, you kind of run into the problem where your hand is framed in a way where it's over the enemy icons that are off screen. Because when you're playing the game, you have to tap to the side of the screen to try and switch to other enemies because you're fighting multiple at a time pretty often, especially in the late game. And my hand, from just playing the game normally, would cover over those symbols. And so I would very often run into the problem of, I'm not knowing when another enemy is going to attack, and I need to switch over and focus onto them. And so that would come with its own set of annoyances. But just being conscious about it allowed me to kind of skirt around that. So it really was just a minor criticism. One thing that I really enjoyed was I thought I got the measure of the game after about the first hour and a half. It threw some extra ways that you have to fight enemies at you, and I thought it was done. But basically, the entire length of the game, each area you go to, and along those areas, you constantly fight new enemies that have to be dealt with in new ways. A lot of it's about attacking their weak points, but you have to open them up to those weak points. So you can't just, use your finger to go crazy on them, only until you actually bring down their defenses. And it very much made for a nice flow to combat, because you'll take care of one person, and the other person's readying up for an attack. I'm going to switch over and deal with them. Sometimes you see an attack building up on one enemy, so you have to go over to that one to break down his charge up mode. And it just really ends up making those combat situations, which you go through a lot of them through your dungeon crawling experience, very memorable. At least the whole game being memorable. The music was fairly nice. It didn't really have any standout tracks until the final leg of the game, where there was a singing song that came in. That was the only time it played during the game, and it was really pleasant to listen to and fit the atmosphere and the tone that the game was in at the moment. But I kind of wish I saw more of that along its adventure, especially since it's a very, not bare bones game, but one that doesn't have a lot of stimuli. I mean, you're going down pretty, nice looking hallways with a good art style, but they're just hallways, and you're clicking, middle of the screen, middle of the screen, middle of the screen, right to the screen, left of the screen, basically the entire time. So it doesn't do much to stimulate with the kind of game that's being provided there. The themes were nice. It was not super in depth, but it had a nice. It added to the tone of the game, which I enjoyed a fair bit of a fair good amount of. Yeah.
Phil, this is your first time playing Severed. What did you think?
Yeah, I actually liked it a lot. I have to agree with Tavin that if you play it for long stretches of time, it can get kind of monotonous. But overall, I think this is is it one of the best games ever made? No. It is, however, one of the most unique games I've ever played. Going into it first starting, I was just very it's not that I wasn't expecting, because you kind of led up to this with telling us about you just touch screen, you swipe on them kind of like Fruit Ninja, but yeah, this was a very different experience for me, and I did really connect with a lot of the themes that I was laying down of the whole grief angle. This main character, I can't remember what's the main character's name.
I don't know.
We never get a name.
I don't even.
Sasha. Sasha. That's her name.
Oh, okay.
Sasha.
Right. Yeah.
Her name's Sasha. Just her missing her family, her wanting to get her family back. And I not to just bring the mood down, but I can kind of connect with that. And I've dealt with those kinds of emotions. I've had quite a few run-ins with grief. And like Sasha did, it's not necessarily that you conquer grief, you conquer the biggest part of it, but it's something that you kind of have to deal with every day. She loses an arm, and then you get rewarded by you get it back, right? But it's not necessarily good for you. So in order to help yourself move on, you cut your arm off again. And that really hit me hard, it really resonated with me. This is I'm really glad that I played this game. I'm not even gonna sweeten it up any more than that. I'm really glad that I played this game. This game's really fun. I did have the hand cramp problem that you did as well, Tavin.
Yeah.
Playing on Switch, holding it with one hand, swiping with another hand.
Which again wasn't that bad on Vita, but it was still present. But on Switch it was much worse.
But you don't have an OLED, do you? So mine's slightly bigger.
Oh gosh, no! I didn't even think about that.
Heftier.
Yeah.
So I'm using a Switch OLED, and yeah, I had some hand crampage. But yeah, I would. I don't know how soon, but I would play this game again. I would.
And I think it's almost a game that you wouldn't mind an endless runner version of it, or a I don't know, a battle mode, a challenge mode of some kind, of where it just throws a bunch of enemies into you, maybe like a secondary, almost roguelike experience where you die and you reset and you lose all your abilities. I'm talking really bare bones versions of this. But yeah, it's almost the game version of this is fun, and you could just load this up on any given day and just play a little bit.
Something kind of funny. I'm glad you brought that up. In going to the final boss area, I got sidetracked and I got to an area that was locked behind a door, and I opened it, and a bunch of enemies spawned. I was like, oh man, I gotta fight a bunch of enemies to get through. So you kept on having to open the thing, and then I get to the end of it, and the door closes again after you leave it, and then I assume it just resets.
It cycles. I went through that cycle twice before. I was like, oh shit, it's not a fight through a number. It's just I gotta do something else.
I was like, fuck, I just wasted so much time, because I assume the main draw of doing that is to finally level up your character all the way. I was already fully leveled.
Yeah.
I had no reason to do any of that, to get any of those extra bits to level up my abilities or anything. I was maxed out on everything.
Yeah, I don't know if you solved it. I'm sure it's just a puzzle to where like to figure out how to deactivate it or something or like that. Did you find that? I didn't.
No, I didn't.
No, yeah, I just kept going. Again, I mean, I got the platinum trophy for this game, which was really simple and easy, and was just like 100% it, and like I had no problems. I was like, hell yeah, I'm gonna 100% this game, and I knocked it out really quickly.
Gavin, here's the thing. I opened the gate.
Oh, you got that?
I got the gate. I got the gate open, and I went in, and it's literally just a bunch of parts to level up your stuff.
Oh.
And then when I left, the gate closed again, and all of the little pots reset, so you can just do it again to level
really?
up your
I
character.
couldn't get the gate to open.
See, that's my thing. I did it, and then I think I just on memory raised the gate again, or in fact closed it, and it reset the entire thing. That's what I thought I had done. But talking about it now, I thought maybe I was wrong, and maybe you couldn't get in there. But if you did get in there, that's probably what I did.
I did get in there. I don't know. I didn't count how many times I did it, but yeah,
I definitely saw it loop. I definitely saw it loop. Like where it was like it starts off with 2, and you play a couple rounds of just 2 enemies, and then it goes to 3, and then it goes to 4. I definitely saw the loop back to 2. Like I saw that happen. So maybe I wasn't paying attention in but the switch was always up. Like, and you pull it down, and then like you flash white, it resets. I
did get to a point. I did get to a point where the gate actually opened. I went in, and then whenever I walked back out, it reset.
Yeah,
and so you can just do it all again.
I really enjoyed the enemy variety in this game. I think they each come with their own little gimmicks and strategies on how to beat them and so forth. Some are easier than others, which I appreciate. Some of them are just more time consuming than others. I like that some are reactive to your actions. So there are some enemy types that will not build up their attack meter until you start attacking them. Or they will eventually, but like attacking them definitely like kickstarts it.
Gives you some breathing room to take care of everything else that is attacking you consistently.
Yeah, and you plan your strategy per battle encounter based off of that.
Yeah.
I like
really
that.
enjoyed that aspect.
I mean, for the most part, they mostly just all do damage to you. But there is 1 or 2 variants that like, hey, this one doesn't damage you really. It actually just buffs the other ones. So just be on the lookout for that. I like that there's ways to counter that via the different abilities you acquire throughout the game. I love the jaws. The eating different spells and acquiring them for that battle. Loved it. Immediately I start looking at, okay, what magical buffs do each enemy have? Which ones do I want? And then how do I want to take this and how do I want to approach this? That allows for a nice amount of player expression in game mechanics that are basic.
And it doesn't make the combat too easy because certain enemies have magic defense that don't allow you to just straight up steal their abilities.
Yeah.
So every single time it would give you some kind of, either any time the enemies would get extremely progressively stronger, it would give you an ability to offset that. And whenever you would get more abilities and skill tree unlocks, the enemies would also get harder and have other ways to circumvent some of your skills.
This is, of course, it's not like a said system. They're not like it's not like when you acquire a thing, the game says, "Oh, the enemies do 2% more damage." No, it's just new game mechanics get thrown in as you are given abilities.
We call that good design.
It's good design. It's real good design.
For me, with like all the enemy buffs that they would have, me deciding to eat them wasn't based on, oh, what do I want? It was, what do I not want them to have?
That too. That also was an element of that. Yeah.
That was much more of it for me.
From a completionist standpoint as well, you go through dungeons, and then when you complete a dungeon, they put you back at the beginning of the game, basically, because the beginning branches off into 3 directions. So when you beat a dungeon, it just puts you back at the fork of the road, at the what is that called? Like the intersection to the different dungeons.
Fork, yeah.
The wilds.
The wilds, which is like the back to base, basically. And then but if you so choose, you can go back to any of those old dungeons to kind of open up doors that you didn't have the abilities for before, or try puzzle rooms that you skipped out on and so forth like that, which is all cool. But one thing I appreciate, it's a small thing, because traversal in the game from room to room can be pretty like, okay, all right, let's get through this. At the end of that dungeon, there's a portal back to the wilds. So you don't have to, you're backtracking innately just by going through the dungeon again to unlock those other doors for more rewards and so forth. But when you get to the end of the dungeon and instead of having to, all right, now let's turn around and go back, you just teleport right back. that's appreciated. That's a nice little quality of life thing that they just kind of tacked on there. And it just makes the game that much nicer to play. And from a completionist standpoint, awesome. Love it.
Yeah. If I did have a Vita, this is one that I would absolutely platinum.
Oh, 100%. And it's really fun to platinum as well. But yeah, and to get kind of in the nitty gritty and I guess into spoiler territory for a game that nobody played. Yeah, man, that conclusion to the metaphor, which I didn't really pick up on early. Of course, I knew that dealing with loss and dealing with grief was a core theme of the game. But that whole metaphor with the arm, and how losing someone you love is like losing a piece of yourself, as they always say. And so they quite literally get rid of your arm, and that stub is bleeding the entire game. And it's not until and through the process of grief, you as a person may choose certain actions or certain words. You may act out of character. You may lash out in different ways, which is funny because you're literally lashing out at enemies throughout the entire game, and your appearance becomes more monstrous. You know, you have this huge chest piece armor. You have like a demon mask on that give you the different abilities. You do get an arm, but that arm is a crutch. You know, and it mechanically behaves as a crutch with giving you a damage buff.
It wasn't very good for me.
It's like an extra like 10 hit
benefit.
points per. It's like an extra like 10 hit points per slash or something like that. So
all right,
you know, it's okay, but it's
it
not
didn't really do anything for me.
And that's the thing, is that it's a crutch, and if you use it too much, it actually starts working against you, which still plays into that metaphor, you know. And it's not until you sever yourself, you know, haha, with the pun of the whole meaning. It's not until you sever yourself from that crutch. It's not until you shed those actions and feelings and emotions and actively choose to work through those things. And you know, the game gives the character Sasha a choice. You either go back into that darkness and become that monster, or you take the step forward into the light and you know, carry those loved ones with you always, but move on. Or work towards moving on, and how it's a daily choice that you have to make. I love that, and it plays right into just the central game design of moving through a dungeon. Mm-hmm. Moving through each one of those rooms is the choice to move through your grief.
Yeah.
Well,
Tavin, you mentioning that throughout the entire game, that stump from where your arm was cut off is bleeding.
Yeah. And then
you finally bury your family and go towards the light, your stump is healed.
Yeah. Yeah. That's when it hit me of what's happening, is when they show that it's healed now. And I was like, oh shit, I see what you're doing. All right, cool. This is sick. This is really sick. So yeah, really, really well designed, really well thought out game. Despite I guess you could call it shortcomings, but I enjoy games that are this a little more bite-sized, a little more digestible. In some ways that can work against you. I think we all felt that like games like Portal were expertly designed, masterclass in video game design, but just too short of an experience to leave a lasting impact. This shows you how a short experience can leave an even a more lasting impact than something that's 30, 40 hours.
When you bring up Portal, there's a pretty good amount of puzzles in the game. They're very surface level, which I don't really have a problem with. In Severed.
Yeah.
Which I don't have a problem with. It just, you know, when you're going through hallway after hallway after hallway, it's a good break up from just going the path that's set out before you. But don't expect much from a puzzle perspective here, if that's what you're going in for.
It's pretty simple.
Yeah, very simple.
Yeah. But I like that. It's as simple as its combat. You know, no need to be overly complicated in this element. And most of the puzzle solutions, most of them just are, okay, how do I get around here? How do I open this door? How do I get around this debris or something like that? So it's, you know, it's mostly just pathing. Mm-hmm. Like, what path am I taking? But it's good. It's good.
You know what took me forever to figure out, if we can kind of just, you know, spoil a puzzle solution real quick?
Yeah, what's that?
The fucking bird.
The bird.
In the last dungeon where you have to ring the bell to bring the bird towards you.
Bring the birds and have them give them the
hold
thing.
the key.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that
it just took you forever to figure out how to or what the game even wanted from you.
Yeah, to the point where the game just had to tell me.
Ha!
Yeah.
You're like, hey, I can hold that for you. That's basically what the little bird said.
I
And
think
was like,
that's I think that's just what happens when you have the key on you and you ring the bell. So maybe it just took you too long to like ring the bell while you had the key.
no, because I didn't have the key on me. I went through, because you're going through those, like, the reason you need the bird to hold the key is because there's these little doors that they're essentially like the you can't take the companion cube through the gate and portal. It's basically that, so it dissolves the key. And I didn't have the key on me. I just kept going back and forth between these bells. I didn't know if maybe they were like on some kind of timer where like I needed to have them rung around at the same time.
No.
And so I would ring one, go back, ring the other. I was like, fuck, all right, let me try to do it faster. So I went back, rang the other one, and I think on like the third try, so like the fifth ring of either these bells, there's like, hey, if you get that key and then tap the key and tap me, I can hold the key for you. It literally just spelled it out for me, and I was like, "Well, I'm a fucking moron."
Oh, that's funny. I think yeah. I rang the bell. The bird came, and I went, "All right, you're talking shit like you normally do." So I went and I think I grabbed the key because it was available to me, and then rang the bell. And then the bird does say, "Hey, we can hold on to that if you want." And I go, okay, that's what we're doing here. So
Yeah, that's how I found out too.
Gotcha.
One of the other the time where the game got me is there's a segment, I believe in the first dungeon, where sometimes you'll go into these poison rooms, and there are these sacks hanging from the ceiling that you have to hit to dispel the poison being released there. And of course, they would throw into the mix enemies that you have to get by to get to that, poison turn off button.
Got to move fast.
Yeah.
Got to fight fast.
But there was one part where the enemies took too long to kill, and there were 2 encounters you had to go through, and so I was just barely getting like near the point where I can beat the enemies on a sliver of health, and then it goes out because of the poison. And I was just kind of upset at the game because I was, it was expecting too much of me. Even if because I was doing it very good and efficiently, but it was requiring me basically to make no mistakes at all. But once I finished the combat encounter and was like, okay, I gotta go find the fucking sack. I gotta turn left. And I turned left, and it's right there. And I could have taken it out anytime I was fighting those last 2 guys, but I just didn't know it was there.
All right.
So it's funny little moments like that make you remember these games.
I think one that really stumped me, and I still didn't get the solution to it because it was an optional puzzle, is there's one room where there's a statue of the eye and the flash icon, and when you flash it, it takes you to a different place or like a different dimension or whatever. And so you flash it, and the room is basically laid out like a giant E. So it's one straight line and then 3 rooms jutting off to the side. And I just never figured out what I was supposed to do there. Like, because all the rooms to me were empty. So I don't know if I had to walk in a certain pattern or something to get it done. There was nothing I could hit. There was no like hidden caves as far as I could tell. I don't know. I couldn't figure that one out.
In the final area, there was a level like that where I had to go a certain way to. I was telling you about it.
Yeah.
To get basically a collectible that relates to the main character's
Is it like
family.
is it the like go left, go up, go right,
yeah,
go up,
something like that. Yeah, but that's probably what it was for that area that you were in.
I think maybe I just never found the clue for that. I don't know.
Yeah. The one that you're describing, Tavin, reminds me of. There was like, it could be one of 2 things, and it's either like the paintings on the wall, so like you get them in the right order.
No, it's not the
like
paintings one. The paintings one you can kind of just brute force your way through.
Which I did.
Yeah, me too.
Because
I did notice
paintings. And
I did notice the
them.
paintings, but yeah, that's exactly it. I didn't memorize them, so I looked at them and I went, I don't know, this order? No, this order? No, this order? Yes. All right, moving on.
There we go. Yeah, got it.
There we go.
That's
All right,
what that reminds me of.
Gentlemen, anything else anybody wants to say before we start ranking this bad boy?
I think we're good to rank it.
I've said my piece.
There we go. Let's get it going. So I forgot to preset the thing, so I'm just gonna do it this way, kind of ghetto-y. And let's increase this. So, ladies and gentlemen, as you may or may not know, on this show, we rank each game we play in the series against the other games that we have played. And currently, the list is as follows. Number 22, Fable. Number 21, Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze. Number 20, Prey. Number 19, Tomb Raider. Number 18, Batman Arkham Asylum. Number 17, Uncharted 1. Number 16, Halo Combat Evolved. Number 15, Shadow of the Colossus. Number 14, Mario 64. Number 13, Resident Evil 4. Number 12, Portal. Number 11, Pokemon Soul Silver. Number 10, Resident Evil HD. Number 9, Chrono Trigger. Number 8, Dishonored. Number 7, Shovel Knight. Number 6, Portal 2. Number 5, Yakuza 0. Number 4, Hades. Number 3, Final Fantasy 7. Number 2, The Last of Us. And number 1, God of War Ragnarok. Phil, you most recently beat the game, having beating it just before we went live.
You just had to come to me first.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you guys know. Usually I go for thoughts, I go me, Connor, Phil. And then for ranking, I go Phil, Connor, Tavin. So Phil, where would you like, or where would you like to cast the first ballot here?
So, because I can't really, like, it's very pixelated on my screen. I have the list pulled up on my phone here. I'm feeling like I kind of had a decent idea of where we were gonna rank it before I beat it. And now that I have beaten it, it has changed a little bit. I think initially I was thinking this is gonna go at like the new number 16.
Oh wow!
But now I'm actually gonna move it up a couple slots. I'm gonna put it at the new number 14.
Above Mario 64, but below Resident Evil 4?
Yeah, that's just me personally, though. So
interesting. Okay, wow. Connor, where are you at here?
Typically, when we do these things, my mind of where the position is changes during the talk.
Yeah, which is how Pokemon Soul Silver got above fucking Portal.
As it
where it
deserved.
belongs.
Yep.
Where it belongs.
Definitely deserved. But this is not one of those cases. So the place that I was lingering at is where I'm landing, and that is at the new number. That's how it done. Yeah, the new number 11. So replacing Pokemon Silver's spot, right below Resident Evil, but above Pokemon Silver. The main reason being is that Resident Evil is such a tightly designed game, and it's got great atmosphere, and those two things put it over what I would argue is better raw gameplay, because the swiping of your finger just to take out those enemies gets really fun, and like I said in the review, the full review, flowy. It flows very well. But Resident Evil also is just jam-packed with so much stuff, so many little bits and pieces to enjoy. Fun enemy types that actually make your butthole clench. And I think that justifies it being just slightly below it.
Punch more or less than the doors you have to put the keys in? Because those are buttholes.
Yes. They are buttholes.
They're very teethy. Very teethy buttholes.
Very toothy buttholes. Yeah.
Very much like I'm not putting my hand in there. I'm conflicted on this one, and I still don't have a like desired spot for this. And the reason is because I would objectively put this game below. It would need to be below both Chrono Trigger and Resident Evil. Like, those two cannot be bisected by severed in my mind, because I think they are both better games than this. The thing about it is Dishonored for me. As we get further away from it, I'm less and less wowed by Dishonored, which is weird because I'm pretty sure I argued for it to go above Chrono Trigger.
Yeah, you definitely did.
Yeah, I think as we get further away from both of those games, I'm like, why did I do that? Because I do think Dishonored should come down probably 2 slots, but we voted at the time. That's how we felt, and that's where it stays. So I would like to put this game above Dishonored, but not over the objectivity that Chrono Trigger and Resident Evil were better. So Connor, I'm gonna follow your suit there, and I'm gonna lie at the new number 11.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm outvoted, so that's how it goes.
I mean, I don't think there was any reality where you were going to place this above Pokemon Soul Silver. I was surprised.
I'm shocked you're going this below RE4.
That was I mean, yeah. I don't know. I think RE4. I don't really know. I don't know why I had that initial thought.
More of an impact.
To put it there. Yeah, more. Yeah,
It is a more dynamic game.
It is.
You know,
it is more dynamic. Yeah,
Debatably
it doesn't get as
more fun.
monotonous.
Yeah, debatably more fun.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but yeah, I get that. But no, I think it has such a better punch than Portal does, despite Portal's like expertly craftedness of it. But it like the fact that Severed takes that next step forward and like hits you with incredible themes and a really dope storytelling metaphor, like I think that puts it above that. I've said it again and again. Resident Evil 4 is great in the first half, and then the second half it falls off pretty hard in my opinion. And so yeah, I'm putting Severed above this because it's a full, complete, well thought through package, like all the way through. So and Pokemon Soul Silver, I guess yeah, these two games are interchangeable there as well. But I guess it's that thing where, like, if Pokemon was 20 hours shorter,
Yeah.
you know,
Or more stimulating.
yeah, you know, or if it had more going on, then it would probably rise above Severed here. But because it does go on so long, and I when I was getting to the end of that game, I definitely was like, all right, I'm done with this now.
I think if it had the quality of life improvements that current Pokemon game has, I think it would easily, like, this wouldn't even be a conversation.
I'm with that too. I didn't even think about how, yeah, the quality of life of Pokemon Soul Silver, not great. And we, of course, superseded some of that by having ROMs that had, you know, ×2 speed or whatever. So, yeah, that definitely helped with the experience of Pokemon. But if I were to strip that away, because that's not what the game is, then I think that definitively puts it below Severed in my mind. So, for me, at least, for me. So, that's where we're going to put it. Number 11, right above Pokemon Soul Silver, right below Resident Evil. Gentlemen.
Evil.
Usually on this show, we select our games via the great wheel. But at the beginning of the year, we allowed some more agency here. What are you doing here?
Stretching.
Some more agency
I feel like Connor
here.
already knows.
Yeah.
I don't. I do not.
He doesn't. Anyways, we allow more agency. We alternate now. So 1 month, one of us picks. The next month, the wheel picks. And then the month after that, a different one of us picks. And we cycle out who gets to pick per month. Connor, you went first in January. February was wheel. March was Phil. April was wheel, which is why we had Severed. And then now, through the month of May, for our review in the first week of June, it's my turn to pick. And for a long time,
First week of May. Oh, for a review in the first. Sorry, I threw myself off.
There we go. I've been juggling a lot of different games here. There's a lot of things that I want us to play. First of all, I've been having a major itch to go visit some Ratchet and Clank. I've been having a major itch for, what else did I say to you the other night of another game I've been itching to play?
Death Stranding?
No, it was something else. I've been wanting us to play Death Stranding in the lead up to Death Stranding 2, and for Phil to shut the fuck up because that's a really good game.
Why just me? Connor shits on it too.
Because you're a bitch. Anyways, that's
not a good explanation at all.
But gentlemen, I just feel like we are past the point. It's gone on too long. We can't be building a greatest games of all time list and not include Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, no, I was pretty confident that was what you were gonna pick.
So I think it's time we did it. We went and found ourselves some Metal Gear Solid. And how convenient is it that just back in this last October, we got some ports from the original trilogy of Metal Gear Solid games onto new next gen consoles. So, gentlemen, y'all enjoy that. Y'all enjoy some pretty good 90s storytelling. and you know, Hideo Kojima, some would say, his masterpiece. I wouldn't. But, you know, some
Most
would say.
people wouldn't.
Huh?
Most people wouldn't.
It's still in contention. It's still in contention. I
Number
would say it's
two?
like the top 3 pick amongst fans.
Let me at least say that I'm glad that this is a relatively shorter game. Because, you know, I think back to the fact that me and Tavin on the initial Have You Ever Played Hype stream series that we did, this was one that we did all in one sitting.
Yeah.
For 12 hours.
Yeah, it was 11, 12 hours straight of Metal Gear Solid, which was probably a pretty bad way to play that game because just the age of the game, that frustration kept building in Phil, and eventually he just frustration eventually takes hold, and you just end up banging your head against a wall. And Phil didn't have the time to walk away and think about it and come back or anything like that. So this will be. We've all touched Metal Gear Solid. I, of course, have extensive experience with the game. I just platinumed it back in December. So I'm already intimately familiar with it. I will replay it, and I'm not going to do a bunch of the gimmicks and cheats that I learned from it. I'm going to play it straight. And Connor, you've played about half of it. Phil, we just said, has played the whole thing through, but in one sitting, in which he didn't have the greatest experience doing that. So let's see how we feel now that we just play it as a normal game.
I was also a much different person back then.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. Much different gamer. So I think we're gonna come out the other side of this pretty positive. So, ladies and gentlemen, we will be back in early June for our review of Metal Gear Solid. Go ahead, play along with us. Leave down in the comments below what you think both of Severed, and give us your review of Metal Gear Solid. And maybe if there's any nice ones, I'll go ahead and I'll bring them up to read up in the next month's episode. But until then, until next time, have a great time. And gentlemen, say goodbye to the people.
Goodbye.
See you.